My name is Manish. I take the podcast. It's called Mindfulness with Manish. The topic is all about being mindfulness and being aware about different things. So I meet a lot of people, like from random background, from food science, from like travel, from fitness, from yoga, and we talk about things which like they really like. For example, some people like to do like being mindfulness in yoga, like how to be caring about fitness and stuff like that. So today I think the topic is all about food. We're going to talk a lot of things about food because I think people need awareness about food. People eat crappy food, junk food, and I think that's where people will see a lot of value from you guys because you are professionals. But before we jump into the main topic, can you please introduce yourself? Where are you coming from? Where do you live? The profession and stuff. Let's start with you.
Hey, my name is Vincenzo Fogliano. I'm Italian. I was born in Naples and I done all my career in Italy until 2012. At that point I decided, okay, I want to have something different, and I moved to the Netherlands, to Wageningen, and I'm now professor at Wageningen University. And Wageningen is a university very famous for food. So nobody knows where is Wageningen, but if
it's
you
called
Wageningen. Written Wageningen.
Okay. And it's famous for food.
It's very famous. It's number one university.
What kind of food is famous for?
No, it's about food science. I mean, the science
food
around
science.
food. Yeah, not a specific one. So where is really a concentration of people investigating science.
So you moved there in 2012.
12 years ago.
And before that, you were in Italy, and you were a professor over there also.
Yeah, I was professor at the University of Naples.
Got it. Sounds good. What about you?
Yes, my name is Heuven. I'm from the Netherlands, and I started there doing my bachelor's in food technology, and also my master's I did in food technology and nutrition health. And currently I'm doing my PhD since 2021.
2021. So it's been almost 3 years.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. So let's talk about a little bit about food science, because yesterday when we met, I don't know anything about food science. Food science, which according to me, like I come from technology, like computer science. I'm a techie. I code. Food science is all about like nutrition, like how many vitamins, like how many calories, protein, carbohydrates, fats. That's what food science according to me. But you can correct me. Let's talk basics, so that you educate me as well as the audience.
Manish, this is a common belief of people. Make a lot of confusion between food science and nutrition. But if you think, it's really two separate things. Because food science is about making food. It's an engineer stuff, basically. It's people can construct a big plant to make, I don't know, thousands of biscuits per day, how this should be done. So the formulation and then the nutritional composition is part of the story, but especially it's about food, not about people. The nutritionist is about the interaction between food and our body.
Got it.
So it's another job. The nutrition is what food does to our body.
Got it.
That's
so I can take it as like not just nutrition part. Nutrition is part of it, but also the preparation part of it. How do you prepare food? That's what food science is.
Exactly, but not in a gastronomy part. Let's say the chef is a creative part of making but it's also not a scientific way to approaching the food manufacturing. So the food science is all about the science of food, the material science, and how this should be treated.
Got it. It's a completely different science, right? Like for example, we have computer science. We deal with a lot of things in computers, like electronics, like code, infrastructure layer, everything. So food is also about that, right? Like what goes into the food, like from like molecular level all the way to the creation of food, and then the nutrition part of it, and the energy part of it. Like
now the energy part of it means I don't know very much what you are meaning for. So if you mean the joy that food brings to us. Yeah, that's not the domain of food science. Of course, that's more in the
different domains.
Yeah, maybe the sensory science. That is
Sensory
also another side part of food science. Yeah.
Cool. So, anything you want to add about the food science? What is it about and something?
Yeah, it's more a generalization, but what I always like to think is that food science is more the part from the farm until it's in the shop, like really the processing and the making. And then nutrition is more from when you really start eating it, digesting it, absorbing the nutrients.
Got it. So how do you guys think food plays an important part in the mental health, physical health how important is food for us basically? It's a very basic question, but let's start from there. So,
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Without food you cannot live, so you need food to be healthy. Yeah, and I think it depends on which kind of food you eat and how healthy you are.
Let's say that we always say that there are 3 levels. First of all, you need food to survive.
right.
So at that point, if you are hungry, I mean,
You eat whatever, yeah.
you need whatever, and it is. Then there is the food to be together.
Yeah.
That's a social event. We eat together in all the society or culture. There is this idea of offering food, receiving food. So there is a social part of it. That is when you are, let's say, not so hungry and you can have the food as a pleasure.
Right.
And then there is the food and what it does to our body in terms of food and health. That is clearly a concern of the wealthy society.
Right.
If you are not wealthy, you are not that worried about having food that is good for your body. So,
Exactly.
of course, it's relevant. I'm not saying that it's not relevant, but it's important to keep these 3 levels.
Right. You are raising a good point, because if you take back like early men, when people were like living in jungles and they were like rubbing stones to create fire, they used to eat whatever comes to their mind, right? Animals and stuff. They were eating for survival. But then basically us, we are eating for like social events or healthy events or whatever. Things have changed right now. And food is a very important part, as you mentioned, for social gathering as well as for healthy living. Both of these food plays a good part, right?
And for cultural heritage, that's also another. People is
Culture
cohesion in society is driven by certain type of food.
Right.
We are those eating, drinking coffee. They are those drinking tea.
Drinking wine also. Yeah.
Or wine, or different. So it's a strong element of identity.
Right. And I think every culture is identified with food also. Like I come from Indian background, so we have a different kind of food. Italian also have a different kind of food. Same in Netherlands.
And I can imagine that in Indians there are enormous differences between
India
the
is-
south, the north, the west, the
Exactly.
east.
I don't consider as one country. India is like a mixture of multiple countries. We have different food. Even I'm not traveled to India, like the whole India. It's like whenever I go to one place, there's different kind of food experience, which I never heard of. So it's kind of amazing. So you are right in mentioning food plays a very important part. So let's talk about something which about mindfulness about food. People having, like in this generation, we are living 2024. People are eating whatever comes to their mind. They eat processed food. They eat crappy food, whatever, like old food. Like, what do you think about, like, from that perspective? Is it good to eat processed food? Why it's not good, or why it's good? Like, from your perspective, what do you think?
I think that it's very important that everybody realizes that without processed food, without processing food, there would have been not the development of our society. So our society developed because thanks to the food industry, it's possible to have food, for instance, all year around. So we are not more depending on the seasonality, the fresh food, and so on. At the moment, so the food industry ensures the food security. Means there is enough food for everybody, or almost everybody on the planet, of course, with some caveat, but that's the point. So really, we make a big step between the time that people really have all the time around looking for food, in the fact that now supermarket and always behind the supermarket ensure you to have a nice life, and then at a certain point think, I have to eat, and you will find something.
Right.
Without the food industry, without the food processing,
We can't live.
I think that's now people tend to forget.
Because we are 8 billion people in the world, and feeding everyone is a challenge. So that's why the processed food is important. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you think, I always make a simple example. Think a carton of beans, very simple.
Yeah.
Okay, also very cheap. You can beat it by, and then you're full with a
Like $2-3 can.
That's something that is possible because there is a food industry.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to find the beans, put in water, cook for
Boil
2
it,
hours,
yeah.
find a bed. So it's really
It's a process.
That's what tell you the importance.
That's a good thing about the processed food.
That's a very good
Yeah.
thing, but that's something that people tend to forget.
Yeah, it increases the shelf life. You have it at more places. It's cheaper. It's more affordable for people. So I think it's also a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. What are the bad things about processed food?
The bad things about processed food that some at a certain point, some processed food for different reason become very dense of energy, become a bomb of energy. So with some type of processed food, it's very easy that you end up in eating too much calories before you realize that you are eating too much.
Is it calories or sorry, go ahead.
Some processed food are really induce. It's not that the food induce, but the way we are humans, as you said, we were evolved to eat whatever was available. So if this whatever was available is a big cake full of sugars and fat, we end up eating and probably eating too much of this. So this is, let's say, the other side of the coin. So it's not that it was intentional, but it's the combination of how we are, how our body think, and how it is what we call an obesogenic environment. So there is a lot of available food dense of calories.
Right. Yeah, I think you raise a good point. It's also not about just the calories, also the things which are mentioned in the processed food. There are some chemicals and preservatives which increases the shelf life of a processed food, right? Which is harmful for human body. I'm not sure about that, right? Those
Maybe Lisa, you can take this. That's about the role of additives and preservatives.
Yeah, so in general, all the additives, preservatives, they are regulated, and there is a lot of testing before we can actually put it in food. So in general, all additives should be safe.
I see.
So
got it. So whatever we are eating under the regulation of government, FDA guidelines from US or from Europe, everything should be safe.
yes.
It is safe. It's not should be. It is safe.
It is safe. That is a
And
statement.
again, if you enter in the supermarket, think about you enter in the supermarket, you are sure that whatever you are going to buy there is not going to be harmful for you. You are not going to go to the toilet. If you go buying something around here in Mexico City, like this street food, so not made by industry but made by
Local
vendors,
people, yeah.
you are not sure, right? You say maybe this
Maybe,
is good. So because that's the difference. The industrial food are safe by definition, unless they are fraudster or make something against the law. But if they respect the law, that food is safe.
It's safe.
Full stop. No discussion. Okay, because of this regulation. If you eat at your friend's mom, the best person in the world, fantastic cooker, but you cannot be 100% sure that that food is safe.
Right.
So that's maybe it's delicious, maybe it's prepared with the best of love,
Right.
but that's two different things: the safety of food, and they are talking short-term safety, but also long-term safety without. As Lisa said, that we did a lot of tests, so before entering the market. But there is some kind of psychological reason that why I think it's easy to understand.
Right.
If I prepare for you, there is a lot of human interaction and
Emotional
you
interaction,
trust me and so on. If something is in the
market.
food chain, the market, we prepare, you tend to say, I don't believe this. But the reality is that
Reality is opposite.
there are some kinds of outreach of this. It happens, and you see the product is retired from the market, but it's really an exceptional event. It happened when it happened. It's a big scandal.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the difference is it's really well monitored. And also the additives, like if there's only a little bit of chance it could maybe induce cancer, then it's immediately not allowed. Well, in nature we eat everything, but we didn't test it thoroughly. I think most of the foods are safe to eat, but I think it's also important to keep in our mind that even though the nature is not made to be healthy for us, so there are also some plants that are not healthy
Right,
or
not
not good
healthy
for
food,
us. Yeah.
So are you guys saying industry food, what we find in Walmart, is much more healthier and which will not make us sick compared to mom's food?
I think healthy is something different than safe. So it's definitely safe, but not necessarily healthy.
Okay. Got it. That's an interesting.
Yeah, that's a very important point. You know, that safety is something that gets you sick. Healthy is something that you eat in the long run, and of course, if you keep on eating too much sugar, that's not healthy. I mean, that's no point.
Right. Okay, I think we talked a lot. So let's talk a little basic. So in a food, what are some of the important things for a human body to survive, which is very important? Like for example, I know protein, carbohydrates, and which are things which should avoid, like for the normal human being to understand. If you can talk about that.
This is a typical nutrition question. So
I think it's important to eat enough carbohydrates, fats, especially unsaturated fats, and protein. Fiber is also very important for you, and some other biochemicals in there. I think it's important not to eat too much sugar. I think some sugar is important for you, also for your brain, but not in excess. Also for fats, the same. It's important not to have in excess, but you do need it. The same with energy, you do need it, but not too much.
Not too much. So having a balanced diet is something you are recommending.
Yes, I think that's.
And to have a balanced diet, of course, there are dietary guidelines all around the world, pyramids, plate, graphical representation of this, so we are not saying nothing different. The main mistake that people normally do is that there is not enough diversity in their diet. So if you want to try to have to follow the dietary guidelines, the best recommendation that you can give to laymen, try to be diverse. Try to eat different things.
They're eating everything, like every day, everything, same thing. Right?
It's a kind of human, because we like some things, and also the routine. It's typical having this routinary behavior. And so I mean, you are tired, and then you end up eating more or less always the same things.
Right.
But that's maybe very connected to mindfulness. So if I have to take, be aware that you have to think different about food, experience different things regularly over the week. So if you're really not someone liking the preparing food, or then go to the supermarket and pick up different things, but make a kind of schedule and try to have, regular, but in a diversity.
Right. But the problem people are facing these days is like it's difficult to prepare. Like these days people are very quick. They don't have time because everyone has 9 to 5 job, right? So what they are doing is they order food from outside, right? Me, I like prioritize my food preparation a lot than my work. So I prepare food every day, but not everyone is like that, right? So what do you think from that perspective? Everyone, like eating outside food is also not healthy every day, right? Like you guys are traveling, you're eating outside, it's fine, like for 2 weeks, but you go back after 2 weeks, then you start cooking, right? What do you recommend for those people?
Yeah, I think there are, of course, there's things that are very short term, but I think you're maybe familiar with meal prepping.
Yeah, meal prepping.
Yeah, so if you have like Sunday off, you have some time, you can make a lot of meals, and then you just put it in your freezer, and then you have each day you can get your own fresh meal.
That is also stuff, I did.
And also, again, the food industry can help a lot, because of course, convenience. What you are asking is convenience.
Yeah.
And convenient food is typically industrially prepared food. That can be even a portion of salad that you can just open and eat. So that's something that is possible. In the supermarket, you have a ready-to-eat salad. They are completely healthy, safe and healthy at the same time.
Right.
So it's also a matter, what I always say, it's really the people that has to change. Because of course, if you, instead of buying a ready-to-eat salad, you prefer a ready-to-eat sandwich every day.
Right.
That's what happened. So even I think it's important not to demonize the single food. There is nothing bad in going to the fast food once per week.
Right.
If you really like the McDonald's, enjoy the McDonald's once per week.
Once a week is fine.
It's fine. But then
every
the other day, even if you are around, make an effort to find a nice green bar, and then you have a salad, and that's fine. So even if you are forced to go, regularly outside, and you have no time or no chance to cook your own food,
I get it.
It's in the mind. It's in the mind.
It's in the mind.
Yeah, there's nothing like an unhealthy food or unhealthy meal. It's about an unhealthy diet.
Unhealthy diet. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Also, I come from yogic background. I'm a yoga instructor back in India and in US. My mom is a yoga instructor for many years. That's how I came to yoga. In yoga, we also stress on food. We have 3 different kinds of food. I will just talk out in Sanskrit. There's one sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Sattvic means like the food, like depends upon like the food. There's some food we differentiate, provides us more energy than other food. Other food provides us more lethargic. We feel more lazy. Like for example, in our yogic culture, if we eat meat, we think that we will feel more lethargic. if we eat more onions, more butter, more ghee, or whatever, or processed food, we will sleep or we feel more like lethargic. But if we feed something like freshly prepared within 1 hour, we feel more energetic. And that's what the yogis have been teaching us and stuff like that. What do you guys feel? Because you come from science. I'm not talking about science. I'm talking about yoga.
That's at least the story of the lethargic makes a lot of sense. If you have a food rich in fat and proteins, your body needs energy to process. So to process this, to digest this food, typically it's required to have a flow of blood to the stomach and to the intestine system, and you rest and the sleep arrives. So it's there are food heavier to digest, induce lethargic to follow your. This is science.
Okay, this is science also. Yeah, you guys also believe that.
This is go in line with science. What you say. What I didn't get completely is it takes it's fast, minimally processed in terms of be short to prepare it, but I can in 30 minutes I can prepare you a meal that is very lethargic. So it depends on what you put in it, not in the level of processing. That's the point. This word, I don't know why there was now this wave that the word processing is associated to junk food. That's not true. I mean, the processing is a tool. It's a toolkit. You can process food in many different ways.
What does process mean? Like, process means, from my perspective, process means you are storing the food for, like, it has a shelf life. It will not go bad after a certain time. That's what process is. That
it's a ready-to-eat salad is a processing. If you make a ready-to-eat salad and then you put in a supermarket, that's a processing.
But that salad will not go bad for 5 days, for example. Right?
It might be. Maybe it's 4 or 5 days. This is the shelf life of it's not long.
Compared to you prepare, it can go bad in 1 day.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So maybe they put something.
They are disinfected. They are washed with some disinfectants. Everything is it's prepared more hygienically that you do at home, knowing that you are.
But it's okay to eat.
And there's, for example, different air in the packaging that also helps.
Yeah. Exactly. It can be
packaging
modified. There is modified atmosphere.
Modified.
So it's not under oxygen, but there is a modified atmosphere that helps to preserve.
So from your perspective, processed food is not bad. It's not junk food.
Depends how exactly. That the disentangle.
They are both
different things.
They're different. Because I was thinking junk food and processed food are same. But I got that.
That's exactly the point that we are trying to fight, because junk food depends on the composition, the nutrition. When you read, I don't know in the US, but in Europe now it's very popular, this Nutri-Score, or this traffic light, red, white, red.
We don't have that.
Okay, but a system that tell you, here, maybe you have seen in Mexico, there are these black box that say excessive
calories, excessive sugar, yeah.
That's
what we need.
That's what you have to do, because that's related to the content of that food. So we have this traffic light system that this is red, this is green. That's related to the content. It's nothing to do with processing. And it can make you tons of examples of very heavily processed food that are actually very healthy. So there is not correlation.
That's a good point. Anything you want to add?
No, I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think processing is really like you have a raw material and you process it into another material. Well, unhealthy food is more to do with formulation. What is in the food.
Yeah. Any specific things, like if we are going to Walmart or any grocery store, when we are buying a processed food, anything specific in the ingredient we should be looking for, where we should avoid? Like from your perspective, history, like make, for example, phosphate, or I'm just making an example. Anything we should avoid, like this thing should not be eaten, and people are harming, these things will harm people.
Well, honestly, if I go to supermarkets, I don't look at the ingredient list, but I look at the nutritional composition table.
Okay.
Then I look at
That's what I do that.
Yeah, I look at there's a lot of protein there and a lot of fibers, and often a little bit less sugar, for example.
Why we don't try to twist the story? So instead of thinking what I should avoid, maybe it should be better to say what I need.
What I need.
You know what's your lifestyle. And you know your body. So maybe I need fiber. Do I need enough fiber? maybe knowing what has been my experience in the morning. Maybe I need to eat more fiber. Maybe I'm not eating enough vegetables. So this is what I think people should
what they need
consider.
to eat.
Or maybe I'm doing a lot of sport. Maybe I need more proteins, or I do not eat enough variation. So how much fruit have I eaten the last 3 days?
Okay.
So then buy the fruit.
Buy those things.
Buy the things that you have instead of buying all the same stuff.
Right.
So I think this could be more in a positive way. Approach
Of
the
looking
food
at
in a positive way. The food is not your enemy. That's the point. I mean, it's something that we need, and try to be positive. You know, there's what is called orthorective behavior. People has fear of.
Fear of. Yeah.
And I think that the risk is where people start to get afraid about food. It should not be. I mean, this is not, especially if you eat a moderate amount. So
There's nothing to
bad
worry
in
about.
having some chocolate in the evening. I mean, that's not bad. Of course, if you buy and if you eat the whole tablet of chocolate,
Right.
maybe this is something that you should avoid.
That's true. One point which I want to raise is the role of government or authority in regulation of the food industry. I can't talk about a lot of governments because I lived in India and US. I've seen government plays an important role. Sometimes if government doesn't play an important role, then basically, like for example, corruption happens and they let pass bad food and which goes to the public, and they come to know like their food contains iodine or some bad stuff, right? So what do you think from that perspective? Has this some government has been like, what is the role of the government from your perspective? Is from your experience, has this happened in the past? Or government makes fool of people in different countries? What do you think about that?
It's very important. I mean, there is the government, there is the society, the regulation has the power to influence the consumer behavior, the food consumer behavior. So it's relevant. There is a lot of discussion in terms of should we do toward incentive a certain behavior. So, for instance, if you want to put incentive on fruit and vegetable consumption, this is something that for sure can increase the consumption of fruit and vegetables.
Right.
But that's because at the end it is well known. One of the story of the people against this industrial food, they say it's very cheap, and I mean, if you go into a fast food, probably the burger is the cheapest, and if you want to have a salad, it's more expensive. So give incentive to there's in some Scandinavian country in the working canteen or in the school canteen, you do not pay the salad. So
that's an incentive for people to eat it. Yeah.
So So there is this way. There is taxation. Now, sugar tax is very popular in many European countries. There is a taxation of sodas, for instance, and this is but at the end, if you think, it seems logical, but it's also nasty story, because who is the people buying the sodas? Usually, the wealthy people, the more health conscious people, they already do not buy sugar beverage.
Right.
So you are putting another taxes on people that already
have wealth.
Exactly. So it's a bit
controversial topic.
It's a controversial topic. So maybe something that is not controversial is that what the government should do is educate, much more active education towards food consumption. This is effective. If it's done at school, it's very effective. There are a lot of initiatives explaining how the education in the primary school about food is super effective for kids. So this is an action that should be done.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What about you? What do you think from the government? How government plays that role?
Yeah, I think I totally agree again. Yeah, I think especially the story about the children. I think it's important that indeed the government has a role or can play a role there. The children are already at a younger age aware. They can have, for example, lessons of a bit of farming, so that they know how a vegetable grows, and if they know that they're more prone also to eat it and to like it more and to experience it more.
Yeah.
That
is true.
Now we are doing some research with another of our PhD is about meat analog.
Meat alternative.
Yeah, basically burger, for instance, vegetable burgers.
Yeah.
So
Impossible burgers.
Impossible burgers. So the idea now in the Netherlands, especially, is a country in the world that this is coming more faster than in other places. And we have done a study with children to let them familiarize with the concept of meat analogs or meat alternatives. And with children, it's very nice because you can start talking about animal welfare, so the importance of reducing the consumption of meat, not only for the environment, for the animals. So this is something that stays.
Coming up
and stays. So, and of course, I have nothing against meat. I mean, the point is that we eat too much meat. So it's that people eat meat every day. If you don't eat meat, it seems that you have eaten nothing. So, I mean, we know that this is not sustainable. So let's eat less meat. And again, you need the food industry to prepare the meat alternatives. I mean, because it's not something that you can do at home.
Yeah.
A burger with vegetables is not easy.
Yeah.
So that's.
I have a very controversial topic to talk about, the meat and non-meat, because I come from Indian background and 80% of the Indian population they don't eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
We are vegetarians. I'm also vegetarian. It's all the culture that we have. But I am not against meat eaters. But what do you think, as you mentioned, one of the point was it's not sustainable having meat every day. So I think there has to be balance. Like if there's a person who is a meat eater, maybe eat meat once a day, like once a week, or maybe twice a week, not every day. What do you think, is that a good statement to make? And also why eating meat is not good, or is good?
I leave again this to the nutritionist here.
Yeah, I think every day is too much. I think indeed we should lower your meat consumption, and I think 1 or twice a week it's perfectly fine. And also, I would say look at the type of meat that you're eating, especially red meat is a bit less healthy, and also have a more environmental impact than, for example, chicken or white meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fish.
Fish is better. That's what I heard.
Fish is better. Yeah.
Now there are many different sources of meat that can be animal protein that can be considered. If you want to be weird, you can also talk about insect or
Insect.
Now there's a lot of talk about cell-based.
I've seen a lot of videos from China. They eat everything. They eat insects. They eat like mosquitoes, like bats,
but
snakes.
Mexico is one of the. Now we are in Mexico. Mexico is famous for insect.
Insects? I never heard of that.
Yeah, you can eat chapulines.
Oh my God.
These are small
Ants.
ants. We have had lunch today with some ants.
Wow, I never heard of that. I heard that veganism is going up. I'm a huge traveler. I travel 40 countries. I've been to like meat eating countries like Peru, Colombia, Brazil. Everyone I was able to find vegan restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And here, like the Roma where we live, it's also full of vegan restaurants. I think veganism is going up. I'm not a vegan. I'm a vegetarian. But vegan is another trend going up. It's like replacing meat with soya. That is, or tofu, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Is it good trend? Is it bad? What do you think about that from food perspective? Is it sustainable?
Sure, vegetarian and vegan are more sustainable for the planet. In terms of resources for the planet, yes. In terms of having a healthy diet, let's say that vegan is not easy to be completely healthy because you miss some vitamins. We need vitamins. In fact,
like omega-3 and all those things.
Omega-3, but the B12. So
B12
the key vitamins that's also all in food, and so if you are vegan, you take supplements to have B12. So with vegetarian, it's perfectly easy to have everything.
Yeah.
So that's only really a matter of choice. There is no reason to eat meat, honestly, from the nutritional perspective. But let's say a varied diet that includes also a bit of meat. There are studies that show that is also perfectly sustainable. So that's it's not that we need to eliminate meat to be sustainable. We need to reduce it.
Right.
And I think that the Western countries hold a lot of responsibility because we cannot ask to the global South to reduce the consumption of meat because it's already very low.
Yeah,
so that's obviously that they can only increase in the coming days. So it's the responsibility of Western countries to reduce the consumption drastically. And this is still not happening. Despite this trend that you are observing, if you look at the big data,
it's still going up.
We don't see decline in the consumption of meat in the Western society.
And I think people eat meat because of two reasons. One reason is protein, because people go to gym, they think that we get protein from meat. The second is taste, because they think the taste is really good from the fish.
I think the protein is not true. You can take protein from other sources.
I think culture is also very important in this. I think some like meat dishes are really in a culture.
Yeah.
It's about this, but I think it is there with the food literacy or awareness, if you want, counts a lot, because it's really if you are routine in a certain diet, so making your burger, making your steak, that's what you are able to cook. That's at the end, you don't think that you can make beans soup and to have the same protein content. Maybe you do once, but it's not something that you are should become your routine. And that's where the awareness can make a lot of in this respect. So if you want to support some value, you have to put a little bit of effort in changing this design.
One other question I wanted to ask was what do you see the generation right now is facing in terms of food? Where do you think the trend is going? One thing you mentioned was people are still eating meat. That trend is going up. What other things you see right now in terms of the whole food market?
Mm-hmm. What trends we see? That's from the research point of view, we see many trends. So I was mentioning you this cell agriculture that is taking food from microorganisms, bacteria, yeast, microalgae. That's I think this is really the future, because you can cultivate in a restricted environment with much less environmental impact. So that's,
on that point, I've seen people. So there are some startups growing vegetables in their home, right? Because they do not want to go to Walmart or Whole Foods to buy vegetables. They can grow sustainable organic food item. That's what I think. I see one of the trend going, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean the local production that you can see. Imagine this is you can be at home, at the neighborhood, or let's say the farmer market that really surrounding the city. This is a big trend. Let's say that be careful, because it's not necessarily sustainable. So at the end, if you cultivate your own orchard, let's say probably you put
small orchard,
but then you end up with much more water. Or much more fertilizers, more input than it happens when you have a big scale. So it's not said that small is necessarily better for the environment.
Often the bigger it is, the more efficient it is.
The bigger is more efficient. That's the point. But I have to say, on the other side, growing your own food increase a lot.
It's much more better.
The awareness. Now, the point is that you start to think about it, and that's, I think, as a big
mindful
value,
about
big value, because you get attached to the things. I mean, if you grow vegetables, then you really don't want to waste the vegetables because you have been growing. So I think that's a big value, and I think it's a good thing.
One of the trends which I'm seeing, I come from in India, my forefathers were farmers, so we were cultivating all the vegetables in house, and then we became businessmen. My father was a businessman, away from farmers, and I'm an engineer, right, away from farmers. I see people right now, they're moving again back to the old times. They're growing organically. Everything is going back to the old times. Milk production. I feel we are going back 200 years back. That's what, and people don't want stress in their life, depression in their life, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I feel that's where we are going. What do you guys think?
What do you think? Do you think it's good?
I think it's good because all this profession that we have 9-to-5 job, or it just says 9-to-5, but they make us work 10 hours over.
What strikes me is why this is good in the food sector. Going back to the ancient time, is good to the food sector. It's not good for many other sectors.
No, it's good for all the sectors, I think.
But I don't think so. I think that you are very happy to have your smartphone and get connected with everybody, and you don't want to go back.
From that point of view,
I need my
Instagram.
You are very happy to travel around the world.
Maybe in the food sector.
But let's think about why in this sector we have to go back, while in the other sector, we don't want to go back. We are very happy of having the things that we have. So it's kind of a romantic idea of related to food that is not present in other domain of our society. I see this trend.
Yeah.
I can challenge this trend in terms of how this is actually something that can stay, or you can do this for a while, or even eating, for instance, organic is a nice idea, cultivating organic and so on. But organic on the large scale
It's not sustainable.
wouldn't be enough. If you will start to cultivate all the land organic, there will be no food for everybody, because the yield is lower when you have organic cultivation. So at the end of the day, that would be a problem.
Right.
So
It's a controversial topic.
To me, I'm asking, because I see
You're asking a good question. Yeah.
I am asking to myself why the grandma is good for the food and is not good for other.
I tell you one example. Like, I have a lot of people in US, my friends. They used to buy a gallon of milk from Walmart or Whole Foods, and the milk doesn't get destroyed or spoiled after a week or so. Like maybe 2 weeks. It's still good.
Because we are very good. We know how to do our job.
Yeah.
You see, why you shouldn't be happy that I can make a milk to stay for 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
You should be happy.
But listen to me.
It's not that we poison the milk. We know how to do the food processing, and we are able to make the milk
Nothing wrong on that. So
nothing wrong, but people think it's wrong. Yeah?
People think it's wrong because I come from a background where there was a cattle farm right in front of my house, where the farmer used to come to me with a big boxes. Hey, take the milk. That's fresh from the farms, and it spoils in 1 day. If you don't drink it, it gets spoiled. Right? I come from that mindset, and then I go to US. It's like 2 weeks. I was like, what the fuck?
But if I want to do exactly the same, I want to continue with my. So if you buy a phone and it's broken in 2 weeks, I think you are not happy, right?
Phone and food is different.
So you want to have a phone that stays for 2 years because you want the technology to stay. So you want the technology to be your life. So why with food we do not accept that this technology is just
because food is part of your body. Because you are whatever you are consuming, it's a body. It's a body. Like the gasoline that you put in your car. That's why they say if you have a Porsche, if you have a good car, you put good gasoline, good food, not like crappy food. Like we like our body, right? So put good food. And like experts like you are like food experts, so that's why we need guidance. Which is good, what is bad, what is bad.
When I see someone eating the milk comes from the cow, I really say.
I only think of the pathogens.
I see what you are eating, a lot of pathogens. So you
what is pathogens?
Yeah. Pathogens, bacteria.
I think that makes you ill. I think that's
all.
Also online, a trend going on that people want to eat raw milk and they say they have all health properties, but it can make people sick.
Yeah, lactose problems.
No, not necessarily. It's more like bacteria.
Bacteria problems.
Yeah, we pasteurize or sterilize it to kill those bacteria, and then we can safely eat it. And that's also why their shelf life is longer, because of those processes. And it's not harming us; it's only making the milk better for longer, and we can eat it.
Yeah, that's why I think what we do is like to kill bacteria, we heat the milk, boil the milk before. Like that's what
That's the heating at home we thought. I mean, that milk is a killer. You kill the bacteria, but you also have less protein. You have a lot of negative.
It's the same thing as
why in industry we were able to do this for 72 degrees for very few seconds, keeping all the quality of the milk, only killing the bacteria.
Right.
That's what we learned in 200 years of food processing, and now these 200 years are just misconceived by people that think that we are doing. So it's really the food scientists are really feel bad about this. I mean, we feel
they're feeling like whatever research we did, it's like
our best, and you think that's
yeah. I just think like all of those years, I think people only know like the bad people or the bad things, like the fast food, and then people only think of those foods. Well, we also produce a lot of good foods, and I think people are only focusing on that. Well, those years of food science also brought us so much good. I mean, for example, in hospitals, we're now able to give very targeted foods to people who really need it. We can give them very targeted food as well. I think that's also something that food science brought us, but that's forgotten. I think somehow people don't think about that.
Right. That is true. Is there something where some food caused more depression and anxiety? Or no? Every food is.
There are some food that can cause not depression, but let's say the lethargic story. There are some food that impact on the body in a positive and negative way. So there are. I always think the positive way. There are food that are good for mental health, and so if you don't have that food, of course you can have a. But don't think in one-to-one interaction.
Like this food is like cause depression. It's not like that.
As Lise said before, very well is the diet. So it's clear that having a monotonous diet rich of a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, this is not good for your mental health. That's for sure. But there are some specific elements that can be positive for the mind. That's called psychobiotics, for instance, that induce synthesis of mediators in your brain that are good, but one-to-one,
it's not the right thing.
It's all about diet.
Cool. I think we talked a lot about different aspects. We talked about the government playing an important role. We talked about lethargy. We talked about how fresh versus processed food is important and stuff. Any last advice you want to give to the audience about the food, how healthy they should be eating? Any advice from your perspective, from last words you want to talk about?
I think we can take the element from your PhD.
Yeah. And honestly, when I thought about mindfulness and food, I thought about mindful eating. It's also a thing that's getting quite popular, that people are very aware of how they're eating. You need to eat slowly, you need to chew a lot. But what my research is actually interested is that it's also interesting to look at the texture that you are eating. If you have something that's hard, for example hard bread, you automatically eat slower, you chew more, you take smaller bite sizes. And in that way, for example, people are overweight, it might be a way to reduce your intake because you feel full earlier. You eat less of foods that have a harder texture.
Yeah.
I think that's also something that's
important,
and that people should also think about when they buy foods, and buy foods that are harder texture, more chewier, things that you eat slower.
Right. One point to add to that, back, I'm talking about from the yogic point of view, like yoga. My grandmother, my great grandmother, they told me every food that you're eating, take small bites and eat at least 32 times, like that. Whatever they teach me, now science is proving that is right, right? Because we don't have a logic behind it. We just say, okay, our grandfather have told us. We don't believe in that because it's not written in books. It's just coming from the mouth to mouth, generation to generation. We just believe because we respect our grandmother. But now science is actually proving it. And also people these days, whenever they eat, they look at their phone, or Instagram, okay, eat. So they're not looking at their food. That's why they end up maybe eating more than what they actually consume. Because when you eat, when you see the food, all the signal goes to your brain, then mouth, then stomach. And the stomach will automatically tell the brain, okay, stop, now it's done. But when you are looking at your phone, there's no signal. Everything is gone. That's what I also see.
But maybe we can conclude also with this, that to eat slower, so to chew more. Not to look at the phone, eat with someone else. That's a very good.
And also, should we talk?
If you do together, you talk. You enjoy your food. You take your time. So food eating should be part of a social behavior and not something that you do alone in front of the screen of the phone, of the computer, TV, terrible attitude. So this is something that can be a nice way of
enjoy your food.
Enjoy your food, Don't get distracted.
Yes. See something enjoyable and not something that you have to do.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Thank you so much for being in my show, and it was so much pleasure to have you. I learned a lot. I hope the audience will also learn a lot. Again, have a wonderful, awesome evening and enjoy Mexico. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. See you. Bye.